You think you've been spiritual. You've read the books. You've sat in meditation. Maybe you've found a teacher, attended a retreat, adopted a practice. You feel something shifting in you, a refinement, a growing sensitivity, a quiet pride in how far you've come. And here's the thing: Chögyam Trungpa, a Tibetan Buddhist master who arrived in America in the early 1970s, wants to say to you directly that pride is the trap. That feeling of spiritual progress might be the very thing blocking it. This is a read-aloud summary of Cutting Through Spiritual Materialism by Chögyam Trungpa. It was written in 1973, but it lands harder now than it did then, because there are more ways than ever to collect a spiritual identity without actually changing. If you want a summary like this every week, subscribing takes one tap. Here is the problem the book names plainly. We do not actually want to dissolve the ego. We want to improve it. We want a shinier, calmer, wiser version of the same self. And we are willing to use meditation, philosophy, retreats, gurus, crystals, veganism, any of it, to achieve that goal. When ego co-opts spirituality, Trungpa calls it spiritual materialism. It is not a fringe problem or a beginner's mistake. It is, he says, the most common and the most dangerous path available to anyone who sincerely begins to seek. Open loop. There is an image Trungpa returns to again and again: a monkey locked in a house. We will come back to what that monkey does and why the exit is not where he thinks it is. Something is running the show. Trungpa opens with what he calls the three lords of materialism. These are not deities. They are three strategies the ego uses to keep itself safe, and together, they cover almost everything a human being can do. The Lord of Form is the drive to control your physical world. Push-button comfort, predictable routines, the perfectly arranged home. It is the self trying to pad its environment against anything raw or irritating. The Lord of Speech is the drive to control your inner world through ideas. Every ideology you have ever held, political, spiritual, philosophical, can be used not to understand reality, but to avoid it by giving everything a label before you actually feel it. The Lord of Mind is the subtlest and most dangerous. This is where you use spiritual or psychological practice itself to maintain the feeling of a solid self. Meditation, yoga, therapy. Ego can grab all of them and use them to feel more consolidated, more confirmed, more you. The practical takeaway here is uncomfortable. Before judging a practice by how peaceful it makes you feel, ask whether it is making your sense of self feel larger and more secure. If it is, the Lord of Mind is probably running it. What does that feel like from the inside? It feels like progress. The collector on the path. Trungpa paints a specific portrait of the spiritual seeker who has fallen into materialism. This person travels to Japan, to India, to the monastery in the mountains. They collect experiences the way others collect degrees. They attend the ceremony, receive the initiation, sit with the famous teacher. Each experience becomes a memory to call upon when they feel lost. Proof that yes, they are on the path. They are not giving. They are hoarding. He asks a question that stays. Have you ever actually given something completely? Not donated, not shared, not offered from surplus. Stripped off your armor layer by layer, your ideas about who you are, your need to be seen as wise or sincere or advanced. And given that? Because that is what the path actually asks. Not grand gestures, not austerity as performance. Something quieter and far more costly. The willingness to be genuinely exposed. There is a reason he compares the genuine spiritual teacher to a surgeon who operates without anesthetic. The moment you stop trying to manage the procedure, the moment you stop consulting your ego about how the opening should feel, something real can happen. But first you have to stop collecting. The monkey in the house. Now we come back to the monkey. Trungpa uses this figure to map the 6 realms of Buddhist cosmology, not as places you go after you die, but as mental states you cycle through right now, in this life, sometimes in a single afternoon. The monkey is locked in a house with 6 windows. Each window is a realm, the rage of hell, the hunger of the ghost realm, the dull plodding of the animal realm, the anxious calculation of the human realm, the competitive envy of the jealous gods, and finally, most seductive of all, the blissful numbness of the God realm. The God realm is where spiritual materialism tends to park. It is the state of having made it, the self-hypnosis of someone who has achieved a kind of permanent inner glow. The monkey in the God realm is not suffering in any obvious way. He feels he has arrived, but the arrival is a construction. It is ego having expanded its walls to feel like they include the whole cosmos, which is not freedom. It is the most elaborate imprisonment available. And sooner or later, the absorption breaks. The monkey crashes back through envy and anxiety and rage, and the cycle starts again. The exit is not through any of the windows. The exit is available only in the human realm, the one window where the monkey's intellect can question the whole game. The question is not, how do I get back to the God realm? The question is, what am I doing when I treat these walls as real? Not tight, not loose. Trungpa was once asked how to meditate. He answered with a story. A musician came to the Buddha and asked, "Should I control my mind or let it go completely?" The Buddha asked, "How do you tune your sitar?" The musician answered, "Not too tight, not too loose." "Then that," the Buddha said, "is how you meditate." This is what Trungpa means by letting be. It is not a passive state. It is not zoning out. It is holding the mind the way a musician holds a string, with just enough tension to stay present, not enough to snap. In practice, this means that when thoughts arise in meditation, you do not fight them or chase them. You do not side with the good thoughts against the bad ones. You let them appear and dissolve, and in the gaps, the small pauses between one thought and the next, the awakened state is already there. You did not create it. You just stopped covering it. The Four Noble Truths give structure to this process. First, dissatisfaction is real. It is constant, and you cannot medicate it away. This ongoing ache, the Sanskrit word is dukkha, is what drives us into spiritual shopping in the first place. Second, this dissatisfaction comes from struggling to maintain a solid sense of self. Third, the goal is not some far-off paradise, but the simple absence of that struggle, right now in a gap. Fourth, the path is the practice of returning to that absence again and again through meditation. Notice that the third truth is called non-striving, not achievement, stopping. You already are it. The section of this book that lands hardest is the part about the bodhisattva ideal, the being who vows to remain in the world until all others are free. Trungpa says something that cuts against every spiritual reward fantasy. Compassion, in this tradition, is not a warm feeling towards suffering. It is the willingness to be fully present with suffering, yours and others, without needing it to resolve. Soft heart. No armor. No outcome management. He talks about the spiritual friend, the genuine teacher, not as someone who gives you answers, but as someone who refuses to let you manage the encounter. Someone who will not accept your performance of seeking. Someone who sees the part of you that wants the anesthetic and withholds it. Not cruelly, but because the operation requires your full presence. What you find when you stop trying to get somewhere on the path is this. Enlightenment is not something you produce. It is something you uncover. The sun is already there. The clouds are what you made. The practice of meditation does not build a better you. It stops the project of construction long enough for you to notice what was always underneath. The monkey is still in the house, but the walls, when he stops fighting them, turn out to be warm and soft and penetrable. The exit was never locked. He just could not see it while he was running. What Trungpa left behind, in these talks given to a room of young Americans in Boulder, Colorado in 1970 and 1971, was not a method for self-improvement. It was a warning delivered with precision and without condescension, that you can spend a lifetime feeling spiritual without ever once letting go of the self that seeks to be. The question to carry into sleep is the one the book never quite states, but keeps orbiting. What would you have to give up tonight to stop pretending? If something in this one stayed with you, drop it in the comments, and if the video helped, a like means more than you know.